kingdom of the unjust. Why do you call Saudi Arabia kingdom of the unjust?
Well, I spent
Many
a couple
reasons,
of chapters in there. You know,
Yeah.
it's hair raising. It's mind boggling. It's just
But wait,
to think
these are our big allies in the Arab world.
So I go through how the Saudi rulers treat their own people, first of all, to talk about no political parties, no elections for anything of significance, no freedom of assembly, no freedom of speech. What happens to you if you just are somebody like a blogger who wants to put out a couple of things of, maybe we should question the relationship between religion and politics. Blogger Raif Badawi, who was accused of spreading atheism by questioning the role of Islam, given 10 years in prison, 1,000 lashes. His lawyer defending him got 15 years in prison. Then I go into what it's like to be a migrant worker in Saudi Arabia. What is it like to be a woman in Saudi Arabia? A lot of people know it's the only country in the world where women can't drive. What they don't know, it's all built on this guardianship system where you have to have, no matter your age, you could be 1 year old, you could be 95 years old. You need a man. Could be your father, your son, your uncle, your brother, who is the guardian, who it really needs to approve of every major decision in your life. You're going to get married, you're going to travel, what you're going to do. So how women are treated, how minorities are treated. Here you have a country that is a theocracy. You'd think they would respect religion. It's only their narrow interpretation of Islam that's respected, not if you're a Sufi, not if you're Shia, and certainly not if you're one of the 10 million migrant workers, 2 million of whom are Christians. It's the only country in the world, Bill, where it is illegal to build a church, and until 2004, if you were Jewish, you couldn't even go into the country. So that's just for starters.
Wow. Yeah. Jeez. And I know it's
intense.
It's intense, and these are our great allies.
Have you ever visited?
No, I can't get in. I've tried to get in.
Even you can't get in?
I'm still trying. I got in very close. I've gotten into Yemen. I've gotten into the bordering countries, but they don't. It's very hard to get in there. You need a sponsor to even get into the country.
What is it? So, are women allowed to go out? Like shopping? Are they allowed to?
Yes, there's a lot of shopping. It is a consumer society, a lot of shopping. And, women have to wear a full length abaya to go out in public. But underneath that abaya, you get on a plane with a bunch of Saudi women, immediately you get out of Saudi Arabia and they take it off, and they've got the tight mini skirts and the tight shirts on with cleavage sticking out and jewelry all over the place and makeup galore. So, what you see is not what's behind the scenes. And women have made great strides in education. They are now segregated schools, but the majority of students at the university level are women, and they're pushing more and more to get into the workplace. It's hard because there's still segregation in the workplace. They can't drive themselves, all kinds of obstacles. But that is changing. Women's place in the society is changing. But there's just so many other things that are so rigidly controlled. And of course, the beheadings. Where does ISIS and Al-Qaeda get these things? Beheadings in public places.
And they still, you mentioned lashes, right? They still stone too, don't they, for some crimes?
Not very much, but it's still on the books.
But beheadings are still.
The beheadings is just,
right,
it's
so
the major way people are killed.
A system that is so fundamentally contradictory to our values, why do we give them such support?
So first it started out around oil, and this goes back to the founding of oil in 1938 and relationship that depended on, okay, you sell us the oil and we will provide you with security. But now the U.S. doesn't depend on the Saudis for oil anymore. Right. We only get about 12-13% of our oil from Saudi Arabia, could get it somewhere else. Now, what the U.S. depends on is selling weapons to Saudi Arabia. Bill, do you know the extent of the sales? Because it's just mind-boggling. And this, I was researching, and I thought, I see a $20 billion sale, a $30 billion sale. This is huge. Then I see the White House press puts out its own report that says $110 billion worth of weapons sales during the time of the Obama administration. This is the record sales ever to anywhere in the world, and it's to Saudi Arabia. And this is coming under the Obama
Over
administration.
under the last 8 years, we
Under
have
the
sold
last
them
8
$110 billion
worth of weapons. It's just mind-boggling. And a lot of this when Secretary of State was Hillary Clinton.
which they are using.
They are using now to commit these horrendous war crimes in Yemen. And I ask, where is the mainstream media to show us what is happening to what was already a poor country being bombed to smithereens by the Saudis
What is the
with
threat?
U.S.
I never understood.
logistics,
What is the threat
U.S.
of
planes?
Yemen to Saudi Arabia?
Well, Saudi's nemesis is Iran, and Saudis see the specter of Iran all over the region and say in Yemen now, the internal fight in Yemen, and it's an internal fight, one side they think is close to the Iranians and say we better get in there on the other side and make sure Iran doesn't get more influence on our border. So the UN has been saying this is a catastrophe. They've been saying these are, possible war crimes that are being committed. These are children and women who are being killed. And the U.S. is not only providing the weapons, we're refueling them in the air, and we're giving them logistical support, and we're giving them, of course, diplomatic cover.
And you know what? There's very little coverage of that in the media.
Very little coverage in the media.
Yeah, it just is going on. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about the implications of it.